Hey everybody, welcome out to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris Yee, and this is a rapid-fire roundup where I'm going to be going through 10 games. Several of these are games that other people have reviewed already on the channel, so I'm giving you my quick thoughts on them, and some of these wouldn't otherwise get big, full reviews. So these are going to be fast. I'm not going to go through too much of the mechanics of the game, but you can kind of see those on your own. So let's go ahead and talk about them. First up is Captain Flip, the debut game from Playpunk Games. This is a new company, but the people behind the company are longtime industry experts. This is a game from Paolo Mori and Remo Canzadori, and I love Paolo Mori. Remo, I'm not as familiar with as many of his games, but this is a little bit of a push your luck game. Pull tiles out of a bag, either place it onto the grid, or flip it over and put it on your grid. It has just enough tension where as you're placing things out, you're like, okay, well, these are pretty obvious decisions here. And then at some point you go, but what's on the backside of this tile? And I like that tension. I think that it does it well. It puts this type of simple push your luck into a quick and easy package that feels kind of like potato chips or crisps, where you're like, I could have another one. Finish this game in 10, 15 minutes. Like, I could play again. I could play again. This has accidentally turned into one of my most played games this year. I've played this game, mix of online and in person, at least 50 times. And so I sat there and I thought, when I first played it, I thought, this game is kind of unimpressive. It seems a little bit unremarkable. And then after you play a game 50 times, you're like, oh, okay. There's got to be something to this one. And I find that I have fun. We laugh. I like switching between the different maps. So I'm giving Captain Flip an 8 out of 10. I think it's a solid, good game. I'm glad it was nominated for the Spiel. It didn't quite win, but I think it's one that you should check out if you like fun, family-weight games that have those little moments of tension where you flip something over and go, not what I wanted, right? But I can make it work. So 8 out of 10 for Captain Flip. Flock Together is a cooperative game about being a chicken, and there's a ton of punny names in here. This is coming from Sea Cow Games, their debut game. And I have fun with this one. I enjoy this one for sure. And there's a lot of production decisions that are great. The artwork is fantastic, but the fact that all of these things come together as little booklets. Your character, as you level them up, is a booklet that you flip through. The enemies, as you fight through their stages, are little booklets. And it's just nicer than having to deal with stacks on stacks of cards, because there's a lot of stuff in this game. High quality production, and it comes also at a decently premium cost, but I think that the game itself has a fun loop, it has a fun system that you go through. I know Tom said in the review there's a few rules that feel like they could have been cleaned up, rolling at the start of each round to see if you get the egg resource or not. And I can't really disagree with that, but I enjoy what's going on. My biggest critique of it is that it does feel, for me, just a tad bit long. I wish that the game was a little bit quicker in the middle section, because the end section is where it really ramps up. You're leveled up. You're fighting the final boss, and that's the most interesting part. So if you could just kind of scooch to that part a little bit quicker, this would be higher up for me. But as is, I enjoy it. I'm recommending it. I'm giving it a 7.5. Flock Together, a fun cooperative chicken-themed game. I didn't think I was ever going to say that sentence in my life, but here I am. 7.5. Tangram City is a polyomino game of sorts, but instead of polyominoes, it has tangrams. What are tangrams? Well, that's where instead of everything fitting into perfect squares, it also has, triangles that take up half a square, basically. So Uwe Rosenberg decided, let's make polyominoes harder visually. This is a clever game. You flip over a card, and everyone takes that piece and puts it onto the grid. And it has a fun, satisfying way of making the puzzle work together. The fact that you're trying to balance the two sides, the brown and the green side, is fun. I like that balance. I think the biggest problem for me is that for as simple as a game as it is, one is that it's like hard to explain that whole turn order card system. Look, there's a card on the table. You have a card in hand. You have a card, and you two are sharing another card. And that's information that you'll know that particular tangram is going to come up fourth. So you get to kind of plan. You have a little more knowledge ahead of time. It's a little bit weird for otherwise how simple the game is. And two, I find that the scoring is too simple. So even though the game is simple and an enjoyable puzzle, the scoring's too simple. Make a big square as fast as you can and rack up points for it. I think it's hard to kind of catch up if you're a little bit behind from the beginning. And then the end game balancing scoring is fairly obvious. So like I said, I wish that this had more interesting scoring, and then I would really like this one more. So as is, a 6.5 for me. One that I would happily play again because it's so quick and so easy, and a satisfying puzzle. I wish the scoring were more satisfying. I'm going to talk about two games from Suncore Games. This is a company that made All-Star Draft, a game that I rave about. I think is still a very underrated game. But the first game for them is called Ssnake, several S's at the beginning. And this is a riff on the video game Snake, the Atari or calculator type game where you go around and you eat apples and your snake gets longer. And that's all this game is. It's a roll and write. Apples pop on the board and you have to move your snake around. It's not very good. Playing that type of game, but in analog, I see the clever things they did to make it a roll and write, and I see the clever ways that there's different maps you can play on. You can dig into the sand and pop up in sand somewhere else. You can cross the water, but you drown if you end your head in the water at the end of your movement. Those are clever decisions, but it's just not a satisfying roll and write. Not very fun, and just kind of too straightforward for me. So I'm giving Ssnake a 4 out of 10. Not one I'd recommend if you see this around. It's cute, it's a cute idea, but it just doesn't execute well enough. Another game from Suncore Games is DiceWar. This is an abstract dice game where the dice are the pieces. You never roll them. You just set them out onto the board at level 1, and you take actions to move them around, or you can level them up to the 2, 3, 4, 6 sides. And basically, depending on how you level them up, they have different little characteristics about them, and then they can attack in different ways. So it's an abstract game, head-to-head, two-player abstract game that I think gives you some nice strategic choices besides just how do I move to kind of trap the other players. It also allows players to pip up their dice and be like, oof, I kind of re-trapped you back. So it makes for interesting stuff, and there's a lot of factions for this one. I got this at Essen 2 Essens ago, actually, and I've been meaning to get around to reviewing it, but there's just a lot of factions in there. So having played through some more of it, I feel like, okay, got it. There's so much. This is a clever little abstract system. It's not my type of game exactly, but I enjoy what's going on in it. I think it's neat, and the fact that just changing up your faction powers and stuff allows you to have different things going on, and they make a lot in this product line. It's interesting. So wanted to check out if that sounds intriguing to you. I'm recommending it at a 7.5. I think DiceWar, in its many iterations, just allows you to have that kind of hey, let's duel type thing that a lot of games do have. It has a harder time standing out against bigger names like Unmatched or Radlands or whatever, but this one holds its own. One that, if you see around, maybe check it out, try it out. 7.5 for DiceWar. Drop Drive, this is a follow-up to Dungeon Drop. This is where you take a handful of pieces, you drop it in the middle of the board, and it becomes this free-form board. You use these interesting swiveling measuring sticks to move your ship around. I enjoy this one. I have fun with this idea of like pick up and deliver, and the fact that the map is truly kind of free form. There's no hexes, it's all just measurement, but it's done in a way where the measurement is easy and you can manipulate your exact path, and so you can pick up stuff. You're not stuck with like trying to use the long edge of a card or a ruler that's not flexible. So it allows you to have the flexibility and the measurement, and there's not too many moments of imprecision, which I appreciate. If your thing touches stuff along the way, you can pick it up. I like this one. I have fun with that. Very simple conceit. However, I wish that there was a little bit more control, perhaps, in how you want to upgrade your ship. When you get to planets to drop off stuff, you also draw upgrade cards. And you're like, oh, this one's a passenger to deliver. I wasn't planning on going to the yellow planet. Or, I got extra cargo hold. I wish that there was like a little bit more control. And then I think, well, this is Drop Drive I'm talking about. This is a goofy, silly game. So I think it does well, it executes well on what it's trying to do, even if there are possibilities for more strategy that, I kind of wish were there. That's not what this game's about. So for that, I'm giving this one a 7, a seal of approval for Drop Drive, saying, hey, it's fun, it's pretty quick and enjoyable, not too much rules overhead, but enough to do that it feels satisfying. So there you go, 7 for Drop Drive. Enclosure, a Biohack game. Biohack is from Uchiba. It's a phenomenal game. I really enjoy that. Enclosure was this like freebie game that kind of came as part of the Kickstarter, I think, or maybe you pay a small little extra for it. This is unfortunately the definition of an extra game that comes along with a Kickstarter. It's boring. It takes place in the same universe as other game, has great components, has great art, and just nothing of interest. Spend actions to move pieces. Do you have these types of pieces in the forest area? You score this objective. Your next turn, draw some things to work towards. Next turn, move some things and score things. It's so boring, unfortunately. And this is, for me, an unfortunate thing because Uchibakoya has an amazing track record that seeing something like this is a bummer because I hope that people don't accidentally play this game and say like, oh, Uchibakoya, woof, I don't know about them. No, their bigger games are amazing. Things like, things like Biohack are really worth checking out, the big main game. Ignore this one. This one's a 4 out of 10. This one is, I really can't recommend it. In fact, I'm dis-recommending it. I'm recommending you don't. Seek this one out. So that is Enclosure. The Wrath of Fire Mountain is a gorgeous little game from Gamewright Games from two designers that I enjoy their design ethos, even if I don't always enjoy, well, one of their games. So Phil Walker Harding and Eric Lang. There are very few Eric Lang games I enjoy, and there are many times I wish I enjoyed Blood Rage. I wish I enjoyed Ankh more than I do. I really don't enjoy those. But this one is kind of taking Blood Rage's area control type thing and its timer, where you're trying to trigger Ragnarok, right? And you mix it with like Gamewright and silly stuff, and Phil Walker Harding's very streamlined kind of design philosophy. And I know Eric Lang's been doing more mass market type stuff. This is a fantastic meld of these designers' vision, and Gamewright did an amazing job with the production, with the adorable dinosaurs and the little cavemen, and you're trying to do this area control. You're trying to control the volcano. If you control the volcano, you can slide puzzle the board around and change the boundaries and change how many points different areas are worth. Kind of like an Ankh when you set out those camel paths, but so much simpler. It's so straightforward. I really enjoy this one. There's the dice rolling. Yeah, you're not going to always roll what you want, right? Your Yahtzee roll style. But I enjoy it. It gives me enough choices. It's silly, but it's fun forward. The production's amazing. I really enjoy this overall. And if I enjoyed Area Control more, this would be such a high up there game for me. And as is, I'm giving Wrath of Fire Mountain an 8 because I have so much fun with it. Really enjoy it. And I just love looking at it. The little dinosaurs. Dinosaurs! Gnome Hollow is a tile-laying game that also has several things going on. A market where you collect resources and trade them in and sell them and stuff, and you're trying to create large fairy rings or gnome rings or whatever, rings of flowers, so that you can, it's like rings of power, like Lord of the Rings. But anyway, rings of flowers, and you can complete different objectives and stuff based on how big they are. This one's a little bit straightforward for me, but I think it's a good find from the op. Good production. I really enjoy the art. The designer Ammon is also the artist, and it just has this really pleasant kind of light fantasy feel to it. And I think that's nice. It's a good game. I enjoy it, and I would definitely play it again and try different things. What if I focus on getting big rings first, or lots of small rings and get lots of those little upgrades early on? There's just enough to pursue, some extra modules in the game as well, if you want to kind of just have a little bit more change up in there. I think it's good. It's a 7.5 for me for Gnome Hollow. One that didn't knock my socks off, but I could see being able to play this one with lots of people, and there's a huge advantage to that. In fact, even if you want to try to build into someone else's flower ring, you have to ask permission so that it doesn't become this game about like, oh, I'll never let you finish your ring and stuff. So I think that there's just those little decisions that make this a good approachable game and welcoming game rather than like cutthroat. And so, yeah, 7.5 for Gnome Hollow. A good one I'd play again. Last game I'm talking about today is Cities. This is from DeVere Games, another Phil Walker Harding co-design, this time with Steve Finn. These are two designers I really enjoy their mindset when they work together. In this case, I think that the best of both of their design mentalities kind of shown through. They can really streamline a game. Cities is a very streamlined game, fairly simple, and yet has enough going on in it that I appreciate what's happening. And especially importantly is the fact that there's so much turn angst. As you are sitting around waiting for your turn to come around again, you can go to one of the 4 different areas to collect one of the 4 different types of resources, tiles, buildings, scoring cards and stuff, and bonus tiles. But once you go there, you can never go back and collect more of that stuff for this round. And so as you're sitting there trying to prioritize, if I go here first, that's going to open up stuff for other players because they'll know that I can't take from here. Okay, but I bet they want to go here first, so can I grab this? I really want this, and I secondarily want this, but I don't think anyone wants that first thing I want. So I'm going to go to the second priority spot because I think I can kind of push my luck there. It's so interesting just how much tension comes with such a simple rule set. You're building up a small array of tiles. You're putting some bonus tiles on there. And the decisions are there. The tension is there. My biggest complaint is that the tension is not there in a two-player game. And while you can accomplish so much, the game is actually lacking because you're not sitting there with that angst and that hope that you can make your plans line up. You probably will. You'll probably get a lot of good stuff done in a two-player game. And so I think that this game shines at 3 and 4 because of that amount of like holding your breath and like, I really need that spot. And so it becomes a little bit harder to accomplish what you want to at any given moment. And I think that that's a key that makes this game work very well for me. I like that there's different cities, different objectives you can work towards. That's all fun and fine, but I think that the core of the game is good. So good, so in fact, that I'm giving this one an 8.5. I think that Cities is great, one that I anticipate teaching a lot, and one that I'm looking forward to coming back to. There you go, folks. That's another rapid fire roundup from me here at the Dice Tower. Thanks for coming out to this video. Go ahead and watch more of these. Go check out plenty on the channel. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. It's worth doing, and it helps us. We appreciate it. All right, folks, until next time, I'm Chris Yee. Have a great one.
Hey folks, thanks for watching another one of our videos. If you like our videos, if you like our channel, if you would love to game with us at one of our conventions, check out Dice Tower Cruise, Dice Tower East, and Dice Tower West. Fantastic conventions where we play games with wonderful people, a humongous library, and lots of other events and stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our channel, like and subscribe. I'm Tom Bassel.